Good evening, I'm Andrew Chang. Adrienne is on assignment. Tonight, Russian troops move in on eastern Ukraine. The escalation on the ground and from world leaders.
This is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine.
But will anything deter Putin? We're on both sides of the border, staring down a dangerous conflict. The trucks are gone, but the grievances remain.
We will not quit no matter what happens, no matter what anyone says.
The protesters vowing to fight on, even as key leaders sit behind bars. The search for answers in Canada's worst mass shooting.
We're just kept in the dark and we're just fed lip service to make us feel better.
Why victims' families say the inquiry has failed just as it gets started. And equal pay on the pitch.
This is a huge win for us.
The landmark soccer settlement in the fight for equity in sport. This is The National. After weeks of amassing military assets at the border, Russia has declared a large part of eastern Ukraine as independent and moved troops in to apparently keep the peace. But across Europe and beyond, leaders say this is the beginning of an invasion, and that has triggered action.
Russia has now undeniably moved against Ukraine.
This is a serious escalation by Russia.
To send troops to these regions, we cannot accept this.
Tonight, the West is stepping up sanctions, and Kiev is calling up reservists as Russia builds up its forces inside eastern Ukraine. CBC News has reporters on the ground on both sides of the Russia-Ukraine border. From Kiev, Margaret Evans will give us the latest reaction in Ukraine. And from the Rostov region, Briar Stewart has the situation within Russia. That is where we'll start. Briar joins us now from Rostov-on-Don. So, Briar, what are you seeing near the border?
Well, Andrew, President Vladimir Putin says Russian lawmakers have given him the green light to send so-called peacekeepers into Ukraine. But one look at the arsenal that's built up around the border, and it's clear that Russia is preparing for war.
In the village of Pokrovskaya, this has become the backdrop to everyday life. Residents tell CBC News that heavy artillery has been moving through this community for weeks. They're loaded up onto trains by soldiers and head out towards Ukraine. Even with the signs of a looming war rolling through the center of town, some still aren't convinced it will happen. I don't see any sense in taking Ukraine, this woman says. For what? But others say what's happening now is the unfinished business from 2014, when Russia seized Ukrainian territory. They should have just kept going in 2014, this man said. They should have just gone straight to Odessa and then Kiev immediately. The country appeared to take one step toward trying to seize a bigger piece of Ukraine. Russia is not only recognizing the separatist regions of Donetsk and Luhansk as independent, but also their land claims, which extend far beyond what they currently control. They want the entire Donbass region, which includes the major Ukrainian port city of Mariupol. I want to emphasize this, Putin said, that all the controversial issues will be resolved during the negotiations between Kiev authorities and the leadership of these republics. But he added that Russia would be willing to use the military to help them fight for it. In Donetsk, a few celebrated by waving the Russian flag. But many continued with their daily routine, even as the worry hangs heavy around them. It's such a bleak environment at this moment, this young woman says. I don't know how good the decision is and if it will lead to peace.
So, Briar, are there any other signs from the Russian side of what their next move might be and when?
Well, Andrew, Russia has announced that it's withdrawing its diplomats from Ukraine. And when you watch the state media shows here, they really portray this as a crisis that Russia has no choice but to respond to. They talk about how the Donbass region should be, quote, returned to Russia. And broadcasters have even said that Ukraine will have to make peace with the separatist republics or make peace with the Russian army.
Briar Stewart, thank you very much. Now, we're going to link up with Margaret Evans in Kiev because, Margaret, Russia's moves obviously have the world's attention. But can we talk about the Ukrainian government's reaction?
Well, the latest thing here on the ground, Andrew, is that the President, Volodymyr Zelensky, has actually called up reservists. Not a general mobilization, but he's saying he wants to make sure that the Ukrainian army is as fully flexible as possible. He's also been talking about the economy, saying there needs to be an incentive for local production, and he's been encouraging foreign companies to actually stay in Ukraine, not to leave. He hasn't been happy with the embassies that have left, including the Canadian embassy, moving their operations to Lviv. That is a city closer to the Polish border.
And what about the reaction from Ukrainians themselves?
Well, you know, people here have been trying to put on a brave face, and they'll say, look, we're used to Vladimir Putin. We've already had a war on our eastern flank for 8 years. We don't want to get too exercised because that will actually play into his hands. Talking people today, you get a sense that that speech on Monday from Vladimir Putin questioning Ukraine's independence has people reevaluating that sense of calm. Take a listen to this.
I'm very worried. Actually, I was not worried 3 or 4 days ago, but now I'm very worried. I hope somehow the West, the world can stop him.
That gives you some sense of uncertainty that people have here, that Ukraine could actually stand on its own without help from the West.
Margaret Evans in Kiev tonight. Thank you. Now, today, key Western countries said they stand with Ukraine, taking aim at Russia's finances. Germany made what some call a remarkable sacrifice. But Susan Ormiston begins with a show of solidarity from the White House.
To put it simply, Russia just announced that it is carving out a big chunk of Ukraine.
In the last stunning 24 hours, war has come much closer to Europe. The U.S. now convinced Putin has crossed the line.
He's setting up a rationale to go much further. This is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken canceled a planned meeting this week with Russia's foreign minister, slamming shut one diplomatic door.
If Russia continues to escalate, so will we.
U.S. sanctions imposed now on several Russian banks on sovereign debt, and tomorrow targeting rich Russian elites and their families with money in the U.S. Germany is halting Nord Stream 2, a gas pipeline already built, won't get certified for now. The German chancellor arguing Russia crossed a line trying to carve out part of eastern Ukraine.
The House should be in no doubt that the deployment of these forces in sovereign Ukrainian territory amounts to a renewed invasion of that country.
The UK and the European Union each laying out sanctions on Russian banks, defense interests, and wealthy citizens.
It will hurt a lot. And we are doing that in a strong coordination with our partners, US, UK, and Canada.
Warnings as well that stiffer penalties will follow if Russia advances. NATO convinced it will.
Moscow has now moved from covert attempts to destabilize Ukraine to overt military action.
That's prompting fear, particularly in eastern cities. Ukraine's foreign minister still hoping for a diplomatic pause. That's Plan A.
Plan B is to fight for every inch of our land and every city and every village.
So, Susan, sanctions imposed, will they work?
Well, some will bite, they'll be painful. But remember Crimea in 2014? I was there, and sanctions then did not prevent Russia from scooping up that territory. President Biden says this time they are swifter, tougher, and more unified. But critics here in the U.S. and the U.K. say Putin was expecting these sanctions. He's already calculated their cost, and he hasn't pulled back yet.
Susan Ormiston in Washington tonight. Thank you. Canada announced sanctions of its own today and said it will deploy hundreds more troops, not in the conflict zone, but to nearby Latvia.
Make no mistake, this is a further invasion of a sovereign state, and it is completely unacceptable.
Among the financial sanctions, Canadians will be banned from purchasing Russia's sovereign debt or having any business in those two parts of eastern Ukraine Russia now calls independent states. The Russian MPs who voted to recognize them as republics also face personal financial sanctions. Well, turning to Ottawa now, where two key figures in the 3-week-long occupation appeared in court today. Tamara Leach was flatly denied bail, while Pat King will have to wait longer for a decision. Rafi Boudjikanian tells us why and about the possibility.
I'm being arrested by these officers right now.
Key protest figure Pat King streaming to his followers as he was taken into custody on multiple charges, including mischief and counseling to obstruct police. No doubt some of those followers closely watching his court appearance as King asked for bail. At one point, the virtual hearing was so crowded the Justice of the Peace couldn't log on. One supporter is pledged to pay the $50,000 bond despite only knowing him 4 weeks. Carrie Comics traveled from Alberta to Ottawa with the convoy, yet she insists she would ensure King does not breach bail conditions. The Justice of the Peace has put off the decision until at least Friday. King's lawyer wouldn't comment on the case, only the process.
It deprives us of some of the more human elements of what would normally happen in an in-person bail hearing.
But another key figure in the protests, organizer Tamara Leach, charged with counseling to commit mischief, was refused bail after a judge ruled she was likely to reoffend. This as some protesters remain camped out in the Ottawa area.
If they stay quiet, if they're not bothering my customers or my staff or anything to that effect, causing any violence, then they can get on with their day.
We're live. But quiet isn't in the plan for some protesters.
We will not quit no matter what happens, no matter what anyone says. We are here till the end, all right? So we get our freedom won back for all Canadians, coast to coast.
And back in the capital?
The protesters want to kick things up a notch, then the police will be there to respond accordingly.
Authorities have returned some of the downtown core back to normal. Spark Street here reopened to pedestrians for the first time since that big crackdown last weekend. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
In Alberta, protesters are not staying quiet. Hundreds taking their fight to the steps of the provincial legislature, just as Premier Jason Kenney laid out his government's plan for the months ahead. Julia Wong shows us that scene.
Outside the Alberta legislature, a loud and large rebuke of Jason Kenney's United Conservative Party. Inside, the government laying out its plans for the session, including expanding healthcare capacity, diversifying the economy, and creating jobs.
We now have reason to believe that we are on the verge of those better days that once felt so far off.
The protesters have a different take and a variety of grievances. Signs point to anger over Ottawa's use of the Emergencies Act and disapproval of Justin Trudeau. Other posters condemn public health measures, vaccine mandates, a jab or a job, one reads, and a disturbing one about Jason Kenney himself.
The people want to have their freedom back. They want to be able to make the choices that's best for their futures, for their families.
All this even as Alberta peels back COVID-19 restrictions and vows to fight the Emergencies Act.
We really believe that the federal government has massively overreached here.
It's a turn of events for a premier who came to power by uniting the right and vowing to listen to the grassroots, but is now losing support.
This wide swath of the population that thought he was being too cautious, that the restrictions were too much. And it's those people who are really noisy right now.
Alberta is in a better financial position than a few years ago. The price of oil has rebounded, now close to $100 a barrel, but it may not be enough.
Jason Kenney is struggling on all counts right now, and you can't count him out, but he's got a difficult task in front of him to maintain his position as leader of this party.
A leadership review is coming, but first, the Alberta government will table its budget Thursday. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Quebec is lifting more of its COVID restrictions. Elementary and high school students returning from March break will no longer be required to wear a mask in class.
The first place where we would like to remove the mask was for the kids in school. And this is the first one that we do. And we do it gradually. I mean, we're not saying today we're removing all masks.
Students will still, however, need to wear masks in common areas of the school, such as hallways, cafeterias, and school buses. Now to Nova Scotia, where the wait is finally over for public hearings into one of the worst mass shootings in Canadian history. It's been nearly 2 years since 22 people were killed when a man, disguised as a Mountie, went on a rampage. For 13 hours, he eluded police, burning homes and gunning down people in multiple communities. Families want to know why it took police so long to issue a public alert the night of the attack. But as Kayla Hounsell explains, there seems to be little faith that the inquiry will get them the answers they need.
We're going to get all you guys to go up front with you.
It has been 19 months since Nick Beaton marched in the streets demanding a public inquiry. Since then, he's tried to prepare with his legal team, but says that's been difficult.
We're just kept in the dark, and we're just fed lip service to make us feel better, thinking we're going to go away, and we're not.
Beaton's pregnant wife, Kristen, was among those shot and killed when gunman Gabriel Wortman went on a rampage, masquerading as a police officer. Even as public hearings begin, families are concerned. They don't know much about what the process will entail, including who will be called as witnesses.
First and foremost, I want to hear from Lisa Banfield. Her story, or her version of the story, is catalyst to what happened. She knew him more than anybody.
In April 2020, the RCMP said Banfield, the gunman's common-law partner, was a victim of domestic violence. They later charged her with providing him the ammunition. She has pleaded not guilty.
When the family raises concerns, I listen very carefully, and quite frankly, when they raise concerns, I share those concerns.
The Commission's investigations director swung back at the Premier.
Frankly, we are surprised and disappointed. The Mass Casualty Commission is an independent inquiry and must remain free from interference or external direction.
The inquiry's mandate is broad, examining everything from the police response to the role of intimate partner violence. The chair responded to the family's criticism in his opening remarks.
Some people are concerned about the Commission's independence, believing that we may be susceptible to covering up for either the RCMP or for government. Let me assure you, nothing could be further from the truth.
Beaton says he just wants to be able to tell his son he fought to keep Canadians safer.
Because that night when I'm tucking that boy in, he looks at me and he says, "Where's Mommy?" And I got to explain that to him. I want to prevent a dad, a husband, a father, son, wife, whatever, to have to do that.
The Commission's final report is expected in November. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, the RCMP have released new video tonight of a violent attack on the site of a controversial natural gas pipeline project in northern BC. It shows several people similarly dressed walking up to a vehicle. Some are swinging axes, spray painting, and setting off flare guns. It happened last Thursday. The area has been the site of ongoing conflicts between Coastal GasLink and pipeline opponents. Well, there's been a major victory tonight off the pitch for the U.S. women's soccer team.
This lawsuit is a massive step forward.
Next, where does a win for equal pay leave the Canadian women's team? Plus, why your favorite potato chips could be hard to find at the grocery store. And while protesters have left Ottawa, their grievances remain.
This country seems to be being more and more divided every day.
Divided how?
So, now what? We're back in 2.
Ahmaud will continue to rest in peace, but he will now begin to rest in power. Yes, right.
A guilty verdict today in the federal hate crimes trial of the 3 white men convicted of chasing down and killing Ahmaud Arbery. The 25-year-old black man was shot to death 2 years ago as he went out for a jog through a mostly white neighborhood in Georgia. Today's verdict affirmed what family and activists argued, that Arbery was killed because he was black. The 3 men had already been sentenced to life in prison.
It crashed. That was its blade.
That's 2 military helicopters crashing during a training accident in the U.S. It happened this morning near a popular ski resort in Utah. The National Guard says portions of the blade separated, and it appears to have struck the second helicopter. Authorities are investigating, but no one was injured. And the Queen has canceled a virtual meeting on Tuesday because she's still dealing with mild COVID symptoms. Buckingham Palace announced on Sunday that the Queen tested positive, but that aside, the 95-year-old is still expected to carry on with light duties. Well, Canadians are facing higher prices on just about everything these days, especially the cost of food, largely due to inflation and supply chain problems. And now a bitter showdown inside the food industry itself is threatening supplies of one of Canada's favorite snacks. Alison Northcott explains why your favorite chips may be harder to find.
Shoppers at this Loblaws in North Vancouver aren't keen to pay more, even for chips.
With milk and everything else going up, people want to have reasonable priced junk food.
I can live without the chips to be.
The grocery giant Loblaw is locked in a dispute over prices with Frito-Lay, the maker of Doritos, Cheetos, and Lay's chips.
Loblaws did not want to accept the price increase that Frito-Lay had put forth to them. And so you're starting to see the consequences of that with, very empty aisles.
Frito-Lay says it's adjusting its prices to offset what it calls unprecedented pressures from rising costs of items including ingredients, packaging, and transportation.
If you walk down that snack aisle, a majority of that shelf space is going to be Frito-Lay's shelf space.
And that gives the company some leverage as it tries to raise its prices.
They will have to come to some mutual agreement, because I cannot see Loblaw saying to Frito-Lay, we will not stock your product.
Loblaw's CFO talked about dealing with price hikes from vendors in a recent earnings conference call.
Our team uses a thorough process to vet pricing requests. We work hard to negotiate those increases down so that we offer our customers the best value.
But when that doesn't work, the company says this can lead to difficult conversations, and in extreme cases, suppliers don't ship us products. And it's about more than just chips. The Retail Council of Canada says it's fielded many calls from retailers facing major price increases for many products. In a statement saying in many cases the increases are unprecedented and far exceed typical food inflation levels. But the industry group representing Frito-Lay says manufacturers are just trying to recoup costs from inflation and supply chain problems. Experts say while shoppers can buy their chips elsewhere, there will likely be more disputes to come as more companies try to raise prices. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Well, the U.S. women's soccer team has scored a major victory off the pitch. After a 6-year legal battle, they've reached a large settlement, a promise for pay equity. And it's not just American players celebrating. Renee Filipponi explains.
It's a fight the U.S. women's soccer team championed in their victory march. After winning the World Cup in 2019, a push for equal pay. Now, another victory, this time a $24 million settlement.
This is a huge win for us. As always, there's really no justice going backwards. The only justice really now is ensuring that this never happens again, and this lawsuit is a massive step forward.
If the Americans are going to do it, they need to do it now.
The women argued they were being paid 40% of what male players made. Not anymore. The agreement will ensure equal pay for male and female players who wear the Team USA jersey.
For me, it's about moving forward together and really focusing on what's important in growing the game both here at home and across the world.
In a tweet, Canadian women's soccer player Janine Becky said it's a huge moment, not just for these players, but women's soccer all over the world. Let's keep pushing.
To win it for Canada!
Becky helped Team Canada win gold in Tokyo. More than 4 million Canadians tuned in to watch.
There does seem to be a movement towards supporting women's sport in a way that there hasn't been in the past.
Practicing on the pitch in Vancouver, the settlement is motivation for these college players.
It obviously inspires me a lot because, it gives us a chance to, further our love for the sport and get like an equal pay.
But are realistic about the challenges ahead.
It's very exciting to see that there are other places in the world that are making steps forward. Obviously, still a long way to go in Canada. We don't even have a professional women's league here yet.
A win today for women's sport, just one goal on the path to equality. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
Returning to Ukraine now with a look at Maidan Square in Kiev. The tense situation along the eastern border with Russia is being watched closely here in Canada.
I can tell you I've never been scared more than today.
Next, the worry for loved ones back in the region, and we'll ask the experts to explain why this is all happening now and what an invasion could look like after the break. Laughter from Ukrainian school kids in the country's east as they practice drills with bulletproof vests and learn to spot landmines. Survival skills for a population right in the line of fire if Russia invades. Now, here in Canada, Russia's provocative moves are a source of fear for those who have roots in Ukraine. That's more than 1.3 million Canadians. Most were born here, but many have strong ties to the culture and to the country. Karen Paul shows us a community on edge.
These paintings depict Ukrainians who Canada put in internment camps during the First World War. Yulia Zmertzla is haunted by the look in their eyes.
We believe that this is something that people need to be aware.
Now she hopes people in Ukraine, including her own parents, won't lose their freedom.
I can tell you I've never been scared more than today. Checking news every single 10 minutes.
Also stressful, this store owner's customers are trying to send care packages to Ukraine, but fear they'll be intercepted.
Everybody is actually on the back of their mind, they do thinking that this will be received, that this will be actually sent to the enemy or to the people in need.
We'll do what we can.
Every day, Denis Volkov checks in with loved ones. This time, it's a friend in Kyiv.
We want Russia to leave us alone. We want only to live in peace.
Now that Vladimir Putin has recognized rebel-held areas as independent states and sent in Russian troops, Volkov says Ukrainians feel cornered.
A lot of people in Ukraine understand what's happening, but where are they gonna go if something gonna to happen?
But it's not just Ukrainian Canadians who are watching the developments closely. So are those with close ties to Russia.
I was absolutely sure that Putin is bluffing. After yesterday, I'm not sure.
This podcaster says some Canadian Russians disagree with Putin's actions, but others support what they call his attempt to protect their homeland from the West.
It is dividing people hard.
Back in Winnipeg, another difficult goodbye for Volkov.
We will be in touch, yeah.
Unsure of when they'll be able to talk again. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
So there is a lot to dissect here when it comes to the question of what will happen next between Russia and Ukraine. Two people who have been thinking an awful lot about that question, Janice Stein of the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy here in Toronto, and Irvin Student, the editor-in-chief of Global Brief magazine. Hello to the both of you. And Irvin, I'll start with you because, I think the million-dollar question has to do with what Putin is thinking at this point, right? So what do you think is the dominant motivation here for Russia?
Well, thanks, Andrew. Hi, Janice. I think one has to look at it from two dimensions. First, the internal picture within Russia, and second, the external picture from Russia's point of view. Internally, the major question that people underestimate is the succession question. Who's after Putin? And that is always on his mind. It's always been on his mind, but it's acutely so now. So we might imagine what's happening now is a fin de règne, end of reign type of biblical action, historical. He's making his last hurrah. He needs to consolidate the center, Moscow. It's a young state for the successor. The external picture is, to be direct, unfinished business from Moscow's perspective vis-a-vis the West, vis-a-vis Ukraine, and they're playing a chess game. We don't know yet what the moves are. I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Well, and Janice, we know one particular move, certainly the one that is most concerning the world, is the prospect of an invasion. Do we have an idea what that would look like in terms of Russia's capabilities, but also Ukraine's ability to defend itself?
We do, Andrew, and I think it's fair to say that the invasion already happened when Russian tanks rolled over the border. So we're really talking, is he going to stop in these two independent republics? Is he going to take the whole of the Donbass? And would he go even further? Russia's army is immeasurably stronger than Ukraine's. There is not a real fight here. So he is not impeded in any meaningful way by Russia's army. What is likely, however, though, is that there will be fierce resistance. There could be serious Russian casualties. There will be large Ukrainian casualties. And then what Ukraine has organized and prepared for, what we would call resistance, repeated insurgent attacks.
And Irvin, what would be the consequences for Russia if all of that were to happen? And I'm thinking particularly from the perspective of the international community.
I think domestically within Russia, Russia would be further radicalized. What happened in 2014 after the Ukrainian revolutions, that you had three houses radicalized, we must imagine. Russia was radicalized, Ukraine was radicalized, and we were radicalized vis-a-vis Russia. invasion of Ukraine would radicalize even Russia even further. It would definitely radicalize Ukraine. It would radicalize the West a little less because we're a little confused coming out of the stupor of the pandemic. We've got China to deal with in our own domestic circumstances. But within Russia and Ukraine, two houses radicalized. Russia radicalized in the context of a Russian succession is very dangerous because we don't know what forces come to the fore post-Putin. Ukraine radicalized really means the disintegration of a very young, weak Ukrainian state, and we also don't know what that looks like. The danger, of course, is that the disintegration of Ukraine could bring about the disintegration of Russia, which is a centuries-long catastrophe, one that would infect all of Europe and us in the end, because we do share some borders with Russia as well.
Janice, at this point, do you see a middle ground, a way forward that would avoid the worst-case scenario that we've been talking about?
I was cautiously optimistic, Andrew, is that a way would be found before Russian tanks rolled. There were options. Much harder now that the Russian tanks have rolled. You saw the fury on Putin's face yesterday. He feels unheard, disrespected, angry. Russia has been humiliated. All of those emotions were just there. I think we're going to have to wait now. Unfortunately, the diplomatic process is probably stalled, tragically, until events on the ground take their course. And that is a terrible result for Ukraine. It is a very bad result for Russia. Russia will suffer as a result of this. And frankly, it's a very bad result for Europe as well.
If I could, I'd like to end with something of an impossible question, perhaps, for both of you. And Janice, you know, I take your point that one way of looking at things is that an invasion has already happened. But in your mind, will there be a full-scale invasion further to what we've already seen?
I don't think you bring up 150,000 troops in field hospitals and blood supplies and tow in the kind of artillery that we have seen move in over the last 24 hours. Sadly, I think he does.
And Irvin, on the inevitability or the likelihood of a larger scale invasion, where do you stand on that?
An invasion is very possible, if not probable. The Russians, like the Ukrainians, are chess players. The Russians have better assets. The Ukrainians still have intellect. We in the West don't have any moves to play. I'm for Asian intervention through diplomacy. Israel, India, Japan, South Korea, China, they have cards to play, and they still can make a heroic play to save the day.
Irvin Studin, Janice Stein, thank you so much for your time. This has been excellent. Well, now that protesters have left Ottawa, what happens next?
Hold that line!
Where does it leave the anger and the frustration they expressed? We take a closer look right after the break. A look at Ottawa tonight. With the streets looking a little more like normal, some of the leaders of the paralyzing 3-week protest are set to spend another night behind bars. One of them, Tamara Leach, was denied bail today, the judge citing a substantial risk that she would reoffend. Another prominent protester, Pat King, was also in court today. A decision on whether he'll get bail is expected this Friday. Now, in all, more than 190 protesters were arrested by police. Many more left the city, vowing to keep up the fight. Now, what exactly they are fighting for varies from person to person. But what is clear in all of this is that there is a simmering anger that cannot be ignored. Joanna Remiliotis explores what drove people to the nation's capital and what some hope happens next.
The streets around the Canadian Parliament are quiet now. Those who vow to hold the line have mostly left, but some still stream the echoes of a protest that may be dismantled but hasn't gone away.
Here, I'm in my hoodie off to the side with my hands up in the air. Police officer has pepper spray 3 inches from my face.
Mark Suter is a construction worker who spent most of the last 3 weeks in Ottawa, and he was among the last of the protesters to leave.
I wanted to have our Prime Minister actually address the truckers and speak in the House of Commons about the issues that a lot of people are having, because this country seems to be being more and more divided every day.
Divided how?
I see a lot of people that are having issues with their families, their relationships. It's been a long struggle, everybody's tired, and it's just tensions are very, very high.
The protest was first aimed at a COVID-19 vaccine mandate for cross-border truckers.
I'm here to support my unvaxxed colleagues.
But over the weeks galvanized a broader sense of frustration and fury with COVID-19 restrictions.
I'm not leaving until the mandates are gone.
Blaring a deeper grievance to be heard.
It sounds like fatigue, exhaustion.
Yeah, it's been years. It's been hard on families, it's been hard on businesses. A lot of people have lost money.
Everybody's tired of it, but why the need for protests?
Because we're allowed to have peaceful assembly and protest, and that's how people can understand how upset people are. If we just say that we're upset and we talk to our friends and families about it, yeah, that doesn't really go anywhere. I know tons and tons of people that have sent messages to their MPs, and again, it falls on dead ears. If you have a protest like this that gets seen across the world, that is a huge stand. So I think it was necessary.
Freedom! The individualism at the core of the actions
What are they doing to us, man?
was the rallying cry in Ottawa.
Hold that line!
The perception that the toll of a public health crisis was personal. It's a sense of alienation that intelligence experts say populist and right-wing elements were quick to identify and exploit. Phil Gursky is a former analyst with the Canadian Security Intelligence Service who's tracked the rise of the right in Canada.
I think they saw an opportunity. And so the elements that you're referring to, we would call far-right extremists, maybe some white nationalists, some white supremacists, obviously some conspiracy theorists as well, some anti-vaxxers, etc., saw a great opportunity. There's this big hullabaloo in downtown Ottawa. We can just go on their coattails and make our mark as well.
But Gursky says the pent-up frustration behind the moment may evaporate as public health measures begin to ease.
Once COVID restrictions are lifted, and they are being lifted across the country, people may say, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and decide that we're not going to do this again. We'll learn our lessons from this in terms of law enforcement, what we did right, what we did wrong, what we can do better, and hopefully when this happens again, we can make it end sooner, not to force Ottawans to live through this hellish atmosphere over the past 3 weeks.
Time to go home! Time to go home!
There was undeniable anger and fear among Ottawa residents trapped in a city core under siege. And across the country, there was little public support for protesters.
You will be arrested.
But even as defiance gave way, there is a lingering distrust of authority and of legacy media.
You're a propagandist, scumbag. Get out of here.
Mainstream journalists were routinely harassed and heckled.
Fake news, guys. You see this?
And in those other constant streams, a version of reality lives on, where fears of the virus are overblown, where vaccines are dangerous and police and government are scapegoats, and where wider grievances layer on top of the others.
I don't have faith in our government right now. It's been going downhill for years and years and years. My father had less of a life than my grandfather. I have less of a life and freedom than my father. My children are going to have less than me.
Why do you think your children or you have less?
Just the quality of life, I feel, has been better in the past.
You will be arrested. Those disparate resentments came together in Ottawa, and some say won't disappear even after the protests are cleared away.
They are the people that we need to engage with and have a conversation with, and then try and change their trajectory and understanding of distrust and disenfranchisement from politics and society.
What happens if we don't?
Well, if we don't, then we're going to see a rise in violence, we could see a rise in populism.
Carmen Celestini is with the Disinformation Project at Simon Fraser University.
This isn't going to disappear just because the blockades have ended. It's going to continue because that feeling of distrust and ostracization and disenfranchisement is going to linger. And people are going to prey upon that politically and even, radically. So we really need to talk to them and find out what their fears are and how we can alleviate those fears and really talk to them on a human level and engage them in a conversation before they start going down this slippery slope.
Souter's not sure what comes next, but says the protest started something.
What do you think it started?
I believe that it started people talking more about this and the other issues that are surrounding our economy right now. All you've been talking about for 2 years is COVID, COVID, COVID. Now people are talking about, okay, well, what if we didn't have these restrictions?
The pandemic isn't over yet. The attempts to end the restrictions it's come with may not be either. Joanna Rumeliotis, CBC News, Toronto.
Next, the push to help young Black students pursue a passion for science.
They don't think they can do science, or even if they're interested, they have no one to help guide them and steer them.
What needs to happen to help a new generation succeed? After the break. Canada has long been a scientific leader in many fields, and now there's a growing push to make young Black Canadians a bigger part of that success by increasing their enrollment in STEM programs. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson shows us the path forward and why it could be a difficult field to find success.
As new and important STEM fields emerge, Julia Daniels sees an old problem in her classrooms. Very few Black students.
I think there's just this weight that is on their shoulders from how they're portrayed in the media or how their teachers talk to them, that they don't think they can do science, or even if they're interested, they have no one to help guide them and steer them.
I would love to get a chance to even have like a day to work with NASA.
That's the case with Lion Nelson. The 13-year-old from Calgary loves science.
There's so many different opportunities you could have, so you could be a volcanologist, you could be a geologist, you could be astronaut. There's so many things you could do.
But he says his aspirations are met with spotty teacher support and some possible jealousy from his classmates. So Lion's parents got him in touch with an organization that helps Black youth realize their career aspirations, including in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
And so having more representation, more mentors, and more opportunities is kind of the biggest thing that they have told us is needed right now.
Experts say a key to change is tracking data on the racial background of students entering STEM, something Canadian universities haven't traditionally done. Julia Daniel and her colleagues at the Black Scientists Network are working with Statistics Canada to change that.
By having that data, we can see how many students were interested in STEM, how many left STEM because of experiences they had, how many stayed in STEM.
Until then, Professor Daniel remains a mentor looking for protégés, young Black scientists who won't have to shed their identity when they put on the white lab coats. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, up next, the gold medal homecoming for Team Gushu.
I've been looking forward to this for the last couple days once our event was done.
He didn't win gold, but it must have felt like it. What it was like to compete during a pandemic, next in our moment. This is what a team of Olympic medalists look like. Brad Gushue and crew returning to St. John's from their bronze medal win in Beijing after coming out on top of the United States in curling. It was a very tough tournament for them, filled with successes and disappointments, but their arrival home met with a hero's welcome. It's our moment.
It's always nice to come home and to get to see our kids and our wives. I've been looking forward to this for the last couple of days once our event was done. The biggest challenge over there this time around was just the lack of fans in the stands. You know, you don't have that energy that you sometimes have at these big events, and certainly the energy from your family and supporters.
We've been through pretty much everything that a team could go through. You know, Briars, World Championships, Grand Slams, Olympic trials, and now Olympics. It was a special moment to be able to be on the Olympic stage with this team.
When I first got to see an Olympic medal, it was a special moment for me. So for any kids or any adults that haven't had the opportunity to see it, you want to share it. We'll try and share it as much as we can.
You know, for Brad Gushue, he said that bronze medal game against the United States might have been the hardest game he's ever played in his entire career. Believe it or not, now that they're home in a couple days, they've got to fly out to Alberta for another tournament. So you do the Olympics, then it's right back to work. I know the feeling. That's The National for this February 22nd. Have a great night.